Good morning, colleagues, and good morning to all our online viewers. My name is Rupert Stein. I'm from Telkom Group Forensics, and today we're going to have a topic and a discussion that's covering hijacking, mugging, and kidnapping. And I also have all my panel specialists here this morning who's going to give us more insight on the topic. I'm just going to welcome them in this morning. So this is an initiative actually arranged by Telkom Group Forensics, specially designed for our technical officers within the open source space, as well as the BCX environment. So this is also August, which is a wellness month, and the wellness of our employees is highly important to the organization. I'm going to introduce all our specialists this morning. We have Mr. Nati. Mr. Nati is all the way from, he's the executive from BCX Octane. Welcome here this morning.
Thank you.
Next to Nati, we have James Moorcroft. He is the Senior Manager in Security. Welcome this morning.
Thank you.
And next to James, we have Peter Sekololo, Senior Manager in Network Operations. Welcome, Peter.
Hi, good morning.
Good to see you. And then we have a VIP, a very special guest, all the way from MasterDrive. His name is Motebang Mokoena.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mo. Welcome here this morning. And the lovely lady on my right here is Sarah Lefakane, a specialist from the She environment. So welcome. We're going to give all our panel members an opportunity this morning to give us more insight and to enlighten us in terms of what do I do when I'm caught in a situation which is life-threatening in terms of hijacking, mugging, and kidnapping. We also want to tell all our viewers out there that MasterDrive has given us 6 lucky vouchers for all our online viewers who has logged in first this morning. So if you were first, you could possibly be one of the lucky winners to win a MasterDrive ticket. Thank you, MasterDrive, for that gesture that you guys are sponsoring us this morning.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to open up. My first question is going to go on to Sarah. Sarah, so what does the organization offer in terms of the well-being of your employees from a She perspective?
So thanks for the question, Rupert. So from the Health and Safety Department, we do have a program that we call Integrated Employee Health, Wellness and Safety Program. And under this program, we've got an array of services that position us to respond to the employee needs in case where they get exposed to traumatic incidents arising out of and in the course of duty. So under this program, we've got 2 particular services, which are early injury management and injury on duty management. So these 2 services would respond to an employee who has been mugged, hijacked, robbed, and presenting with trauma. So in cases where an employee has got physical injuries, we will then activate an injury on duty process. And this is the process wherein the injured employee, after notifying the promoter or the manager, will then be issued with a CCL2 form for the employee to take with to the nearest IOD accepting hospital for the employee to access medical treatment under the IOD process. And after the employee has received treatment, the employee will then revert with a first medical report from the treating doctor and submit to the promoter for the promoter to facilitate the reporting process to the compensation fund in order for the medical expenses benefit to be unlocked under the compensation fund. And with this process, the employee will then be covered for 24 months of optimal treatment. Wow. In cases where maybe they present with PTSD, acute stress disorder, then they will be able to access a psychiatrist and also able to access their pharmacological treatment under the specific process. And the program will cease to cover the employee treatment in instances where the treating practitioner, who in this instance would be a psychiatrist, would then have issued the final medical report, which would then discharge the employee from treatment, and that would be the first instance where the treatment for PTSD related to work exposure trauma will cease to exist. Or it will cease when the 24th month kick in after the employee has undergone treatment. So it will stop on the 24th month because the doctor will then be compelled by the COVID Act to issue a final report to discharge the employee from treatment.
Right.
So under this very process, the employee will then certainly be covered if ever their exposure to workplace trauma result in PTSD or acute stress.
Wow.
So this one would kick in where we have physical injuries as well as acute and post-traumatic stress disorder. So the IOD process makes provision for covering the employee under those conditions.
I constantly hear the word employee. So is the employee's family also covered under this services that you guys offer?
So under the IOD management process, the services are particularly for the affected employee because the employees are provisioned for by the COVID Act, which is exempting anybody else except the employee that has been exposed out of and in the course of duty. So for the family, we do have an employee assistance program where we offer psychological and trauma support to anybody that is affected, both the employee, their immediate beneficiaries, and any dependent that is partly or wholly dependent on this employee.
Right.
So under EAP, we will cover everybody because the services are accessible under the EAP program, which is offered by Life Health Services. And like I had said, the IOD covers employees that had sustained injuries. But we do have this offering under the Integrated Employee Health, Wellness and Safety Program, where we respond to employees that are primarily presenting with trauma, but that is not necessitating the employee to access any medical treatment. So in this case, the program is triggered by the employee by reporting to the promoter. So when the employee reports to the promoter, the early injury management process is activated, and the promoter will then, or employer will then call the Life Health call center, our usual toll-free number. They will then choose option 2. And this option 2 will route the promoter to the IOD Medical Center, where we have a multidisciplinary team under occupational health, who will then get the details of the affected employee, even though the employee is not injured. Remember, it will be primarily to address the trauma. So they will get the details, then they would initiate contact with the affected employee. The intent of activating the early injury and the contact with the employee is to make sure that they triage to determine the presenting condition of the employee post the exposure to this critical incident. Then from there, they will then diffuse the trauma or debrief the employee and refer the employee for a face-to-face psychotherapy. And the employee, if it's picked up by the attending therapist that in the course of the therapy, the employee is presenting with symptoms suggestive of acute stress disorder or PTSD, the attending psychotherapist will then effect a referral to the psychiatrist, and that's when the process would move then from the early injury management to the injury on duty process.
Wow, thank you. That is quite insightful from Sarah. I'm going to go over to Nati. Nati, explain to us in terms of your environment. What does your people do, and how do you cover them when they're in a place where there's a possible threat of mugging and hijacking?
Yeah, thanks for that question. BCX Octane, we provide services to the fuel industry. Our focus is mainly the fuel retail sector. Basically, in a nutshell, we enable flow in the form of us assuring, let's say, mechanical availability of all the equipment that's out there, so that the retailer can actually exploit it for commercial gain. Similarly, we also enable transactions through our very own IP, where we've deployed point of sales and back office systems at all the retail stations. We currently touch about 46% of the network in South Africa. We also extend outside our borders with specific focus in Southern Africa. And as such, I think by the very nature of the service station outlay, our technicians, field technicians, have to be on the road. We've got the highest number of accidents in the world. I think it's been shared sort of widely. And similarly, the hijackings and muggings are really up there. And as such, we need to obviously respond accordingly by ensuring, first of all, that our technicians on the road and also our other people, employees that travel, for business needs and, coming to work, attending customer meetings, are fully aware of the risks associated with the hijackings. In terms of what we've done to make sure that we respond appropriately and that we equip our people, correctly, all our vehicles, the company-issued vehicles, are fitted with trackers.
Wow.
We do monitor driver behavior. We've got a weekly session where we review the stats. And where we notice perhaps there's some undesirable trends, we actually intervene, with the people concerned. I think as recent as possibly 3 weeks ago, we've actually partnered with MasterDrive, where we're gonna introduce, first of all, there's a psychometric assessment that we're gonna do for our drivers. And I've actually opened that up for all employees, within the BU. And that's gonna be followed, first of all, I like the term triage. We're also gonna triage, we're gonna start with our worst performing drivers, to start with, where they're gonna do some e-learning, around defensive driving, and also just to correct some of the leading indicators that we picked up on the driver behavior side.
Would I be correct to say it is all about bringing awareness to our drivers in terms of be more vigilant where you are, be more familiarize yourself with the environment where you're driving?
Absolutely. I think it goes beyond just awareness. I think it's also giving them tips on how to respond.
Yes.
Remember, the life-saving element, it's not about knowing which cars are likely to be hijacked, but how best to respond in a situation like that.
We probably have 3 types of response. It's either fight, flight, or cooperate, like that. I'm going to go over to Mr. Sekololo on the side there. Tell us about your environment in terms of how do you make sure that your drivers are protected or they are equipped well to react when they're in a situation of a threat of mugging and hijacking.
Yeah, from OpenServe side, we do have our employees that are always on the road, of course, serving the customers and attending to network in the field, which is your cables. The risks that we experience, you'll see, is muggings and hijackings for our tools. And you'll see, you do have people that are marked, only tools get taken. The others you find that they get marked, then is computers and personal belongings. And you also have got others where the employee will be hijacked and is forced now to transfer money from the banking app. So those are the issues that you experience. But the other one that you see on the market is the targeted hijacking, especially for vehicles in the used car market. Now, your used parts, they are targeting those older vehicles that are no longer manufactured in the country currently. So that's a risk to the employees. Now, to offset that, what do? We look at the briefing for the employees for safety. But you also have got those areas that are deemed as no-go.
Yes.
Now, you can't just send one employee to those areas. So we try to group the jobs and then send them in teams with security. Then the other one is we have got our cable jointers working 24 hours. You get a priority break, people have to wake up, drive to the nearest exchange or the location to meet the security before they actually go out to site. So those are the issues that we do to try and mitigate the risk that the employees are exposed to. But recently what you pick up is even though you have tried to cover all the risks, the time that the employee leaves home to a place where he's going to meet the security, anything can happen.
Yes.
Because of the spiking on the roads, and you also have got the people throwing rocks and others masquerading as police. They stop you and anything can happen. Now, the other one is a puncher, a mere puncher. Had an employee, had a puncher, attend to the puncher, you get robbed.
Yes.
You think people will be coming to assist you, and they don't. Now, those are the challenges that we have got as OpenServe. Then you also have got the break-in because of we have got exchanges, you have got the telephone, the Telkom towers, and then you also have got the mobile carriers that we are saving. So you find that the crime becomes now complex.
Yes.
First you had the stealing of the infrastructure in the towers, especially the batteries. That's what you have got. And in our exchanges as well, as we start installing going the green energy way, you have got the solar panels, you have got the batteries. You are experiencing also theft of that. And the problem is once the employees goes in there and the thieves are in operation, anything can happen.
Anything can happen, yes.
Yeah, so those are the risks. From my side, I can't say we have covered all the angles to protect the employees. And we all know the state where we are with the crime in the country. And
No, definitely.
yeah, those are the things that we will have to work with the security expert to say, how do we best protect the employees from all the risk exposures out there?
So definitely we are all exposed to crime in any way, sense or form. So it is not only the cars that they want, sometimes they want the laptops or your cell phone, or they want to take you to the ATM. There's different categories. But then I'm going to ask James in terms of security. You're an expert in that environment. What do you guys do to protect or to assist our technicians when they're on the road?
Thanks for the question, Rupert. So maybe just before I continue, is just give an overview of how our security department is structured. We have the National Control Monitoring Center, where all our alarms are monitored. And then we have security operations, which is responsible for physical security, providing physical security at sites. And also they provide armed escorting services where technicians that required services, as my colleagues mentioned, that's on the road most of the time, and they go into a difficult area. There's a process to follow. And I will touch on that process right now. And then lastly, we have business protection services where I'm directly responsible to as well. We're responsible for intelligence gathering, risk assessments, and also crime investigations. So we would go out to the infrastructure crime scenes, secure the crime scene, and basically extract information that we can and follow up with the police, the investigation process. And we drive that right through to court process, and we get convictions. So just as an overview, how are we structured? So when I refer now to the different sections, it's more clear to some people that don't know. So yes, we offer armed escort services to all Telkom staff that requires those services. How do they acquire that service? First of all, if they are aware that they're going to travel to a specific area that's of high risk, they submit a form. There's a form, specific performer form that will be completed, and that form will be approved by the senior manager, and it gets sent to the National Control Monitoring Center where it will be centralized. From there, the service provider, in depending on if north zone or south zone, will be in Vula, or on the south zone it will be Protea Bidvest Coin. They will also be notified with the security consultants. So within the security operations, there's security consultants in all of the regions that's responsible for those areas. And basically they will reach out and make contact with approval of the security armed escort to be dispatched.
That sounds more like he's actually got the real and the right name for it. That sounds like a James Bond. It sounds like a James Bond intelligence, you know, the intelligence and the escorting that they do for you. I can't wait to come over to Mo, our special guest here this morning. Mo, once again, welcome. And thank you for gracing us with your presence. Tell us, why are cars hijacked and not stolen? Is it not easier to steal a vehicle instead of hijacking it?
Okay, so if you look at this, we take a couple of years back when you could start a car with a teaspoon. You could, like you said, James Bond movie, you could hot wire a vehicle.
What wire?
Yeah, so that was easier to take. And then with technology, things improved. And now Mr. Hijacker can't use a teaspoon to take a vehicle.
Right.
Now he needs to be physically next to the vehicle to take that car. Because now you can just press to start your vehicle. So with chips and all those things that are inserted in the key, it became more difficult to steal a car. So now Mr. Hijacker has to be at your window, get you out of the vehicle and be able to take the key with him so that he's able to start that specific vehicle.
Okay.
Hence now they're moving into the hijacking sphere.
So it is more technology prevention that's changing the trend in the market.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And if you look at that, back in the days, if you needed to code a key, you needed to go to a specific manufacturer and get your key coded. But now these guys are able to get these keys coded from anywhere. So again, it's easier if you get hijacked, they throw you out, they'll still be able to start your vehicle.
Okay. So what will your best response be in such a situation, or your advice to all our viewers and our listeners as well as our technicians? What's the best advice that you want to give to them when you are faced with the situation?
All right, so before offering advice, let's take a step back.
Right.
Before you get into that specific situation. Nanti mentioned our collaboration with them and the psychometric that we take, that we give to people. So it's based on the actual, it's a driver psychometric. And funny enough, I was discussing with Sarah earlier on, behavioral change.
Yes.
You late for work, you get into your vehicle, you start the vehicle, off you go to site. What happens to your mind? In your mind, you're not focused on what you're going to encounter on the road. You're just in a hurry to go to your work site. So now, for me as a hijacker, that's the kind of a person that I want, because they're not focused on what's happening in their surrounding, right? So now your chances of being hijacked are increasing because you're not aware of your surroundings. Yes. Which again goes back to when you started your vehicle in the morning, did you do a pre-trip inspection? Remember, Ntate said a puncture or any of those things that could take place. By you doing a pre-trip inspection, number one, you know that your vehicle is in great condition for you to travel.
Yes.
Now, mentally, you are prepared because you know that the vehicle is in a good state for you to travel. You get into the road. Now, it goes back to what we offer with regards to defensive driving. Now, defensive driving not only focuses on the physical skill, but your mental ability. So now if you're driving, you're looking up ahead, traffic light is red, do you approach that traffic light in speed? No, you slow down so that you get enough time to observe what's happening. By the time you get to that specific traffic light, what happens? It turns green. So now you have minimized the chances of you being in a hijack situation. Yes. Or for ladies, if you put your hand back on the seat, a chance of you having a smash and grab. So those are the aspects that as a driver you need to look at before you even go onto the road.
So what comes strongly through for me is be vigilant. Whenever you get in a car, be vigilant. Take a pre-assessment test in terms of where you're going. I know you've got some interesting videos that you would like to share with us.
Yes.
I'm excited to see those ones. Take us through it, Mo.
All right, so we'll have the first video clip play. This is typically what 90% of South Africans would do. Yeah, if you can have a look at that video clip and see if you recognize yourself in that specific video clip. Right, so if you look at that video clip, you are car A, you've stopped in front of your gate.
Yes.
Over 80% of hijackings happen at home. In that situation, you are blocked off. Where is your escape route? the only escape route you have in that situation is to get inside your yard.
Go forward.
But now you're increasing the chances of a hijack into now housebreaking. You've got your family inside the house.
Wow.
So now it escalates. You've got your wife, you've got your girl children in that specific house.
Yes.
You don't know what these people are planning. Right. So in that situation, you've blocked yourself off and the chances of your car going are there.
You have absolutely nowhere to go.
No escape route.
You block between your gate and the hijackers at the back in vehicle
Exactly.
B.
Now, in that situation, what do? Do you throw away the house keys? Do you throw away the car keys? So whatever you're going to do in that specific situation now, you're going to escalate the situation. The car is gone. Now you need to respond to that situation. Yeah. How do you get yourself out of that vehicle now and let them take your car without actually harming you?
Yes.
Right. Now, it would be simple whereby you say, no, I'll just give them the key. But now there's a lot of sudden gestures or movement that you'll do that could actually get you shot.
Oh.
Then the next person says, no, but I'll pick up my hands. But now the manner that you pick up your hands, in what way is it? Are you just lifting up your hands to say, I'm surrendering? But now in that specific time, your vital organs are exposed. You can still be shot and killed.
Sure.
So you'll see when we do our hijack extraction, we show you specific tips whereby you're using your hands to actually protect vital organs. In case you are in a situation where they actually fire a shot, you'd rather have your hands up protecting your vital organs so that you are not being shot and killed. But now, how do you avoid finding yourself in that situation? You look at the second video. Now, this is the suggestion that we have with regards to minimizing the chances of what has taken place on the first video.
Okay, let's have a look at your second video.
Right. If you look at the second video, now in that instance, you are not parked and blocked off. You still have the escape route, which is moving straight ahead. Now, for me as a hijacker, even if I do get to you, the car is facing up ahead, open road for me. Do I still want to get into your yard? I want to escape as soon as possible.
Yes.
So chances I'll get into the vehicle and drive off, minimizing harming whoever's in the house. So if you look at that video clip, it's a remote gate. What happens with a manual gate? Even better, as you go and open the manual gate, you've left the car on the road, you take your kids and yourself to open the gate, hijacker sees mana in front of him, gets into that vehicle, off he goes.
Off he goes.
Yes. Remember, and again, back to what Sarah touched on with PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Do you want to have a gun shoved in your face? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to have their kids in a situation where they are seeing someone pointing a firearm at their parent or them. So in this situation where you have moved away from the vehicle, you've minimized the chances of this hijacker actually taking out his gun and showing it to the kid.
Yes. I like the way that hijacker was all surprised there and he just stood still for a moment, didn't know what to do. You know? So yes, so it's more about being vigilant. How do you get out of your vehicle? What is your surroundings in terms of who's following you for the last few kilometers that you've been driving? Nati, over to you. Have you ever had any experiences within your environment? If you can share with us maybe a scenario that you guys have experienced in the Octane environment, BCX.
We've had a few. I mean, in the 3 years I've been with Octane, we've possibly had about 5 or 6.
Wow.
The good thing is that the numbers are declining, and I think it's through this awareness that we've created with our workforce. What we found in most instances is that when the guys arrive at site, and remember this is your typical service station, you'll find people hovering around the parking lot. We've actually asked our team to be on the alert and do what we call situational awareness. Just be vigilant. I mean, you see people parked outside standing outside of the cars, etc., don't go and park in between them. I mean, one of the cases, our employee arrived on site, he parked between two cars. There were people sitting in the vehicles and some were outside. And they just knocked on the car. Now, what happened in that instance, the other cars had actually blocked them from from the store. So nobody could see what was actually happening. And that's how the vehicle was taken. So we promote situational awareness when they arrive. Park as close to the building as possible. That's what we've given them. The point more that you touched on around, again, situational awareness when you're driving. I think it's part of the defensive driving. You know, how you approach traffic lights, how you approach four-way stops, and even our permanent four-way stops, which are basically flashing lights. Tell people always give yourself ample time, always be in a situation where you can see the wheels in front of you. You can have a quick getaway. We find instances where people, maybe they've got a routine. When they go to work, they use the same route all the time.
Same route, every time.
Those things change your routes, because some of them, it's people that were waiting. They knew that Joe Blogs is going to pass here at this, around 6:15 or something like that. Yeah.
So don't get too comfortable with your route, your time.
Yeah.
Change it at times, Come from the north, come from the south.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go over to our WhatsApp group and our viewers that also have questions. This question is specifically for Sarah. Our techs are driving company vehicles home. Should a family member be injured in a robbery associated with this car hijacking? Is the household also covered under a IOD? Interesting.
Unfortunately not, Rupert, because the IOD is basically governed by the Compensation of Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act 132 of 1993.
Yes.
And it specifically spells out the parameters of their cover, in that it's limited to an employee. So an employee would be any person who renders a service to an employer in exchange for some sort of compensation. So that specific person, for them to be covered by the Quiet Act, which we basically normally refer to as IOD, the person has to be in our employ.
All right.
So in such a case, the Quiet Act will make provision for the person that is on our payroll, who would be the person that would be the daily user of that specific car. And the process will kick in to cover for whatever needs, whether it's psychological support or medical expenses cover. The cover will kick in. And I think the cover that will kick in to provide support to the family of the employee would be psychological support offered to them through the employee assistance program, because it's a product or a benefit that is provided for and paid for by the company, which we extend to the employees and their immediate dependents or family members. So two covers would kick in such a case.
Okay. So it is more the employee that is covered in the situation like that. Tell us, back to Mo, what is the gender that is mostly targeted? Is it male or female in your experience?
Okay, so when it comes to the target, hijackers don't have a specific target that females are an easier target. It's usually the person who's least expecting it. And for a vehicle that they want, it's by order. So if she's driving a white Polo with cloth interior and you driving a white Polo with leather interior and they're looking for a leather interior, they're not just going to go to her as a female, but they will approach a person who's driving that specific one that they're looking for, which is the white Polo with a leather interior. So it's not gender related, but majority of females are vulnerable, especially when traveling with kids.
Yes.
But then when it comes to something like that, the hijacker would not want to take a vehicle where there's kids inside, because it makes it a huge issue with the police.
Okay. It sounds like a demand and supply in terms of what vehicles are demand for them. And those are the type of vehicles that will be targeted. Like that. I've just got a question here for James also. Explain the different scenarios when employees would request support from security and how you assist.
Okay. Thanks, Rupert. That's, I can explain it basically in 3 categories,
Right.
the different scenarios. So you would have your normal crime-related scenarios, which most people in the public are, you know, face during daily life, traveling from home to work and so on. So we have those kinds of incidents where employees would go and travel to work, and just at the 4-way stop that's flashing or wherever, they experience that. So that's the one kind of category, which is your basic crime that's, you know, concurrent with the trends in South Africa. Then the second scenario is basically where we have our technicians that actually go out, and you must always ask yourself, what is it that the criminals would be after? Now, in our technicians' side, it would be laptops, it could be cell phones, it could be money. So you have that opportunity, criminals that would sit and wait for the right opportunity. And this could happen in a parking area, it could happen at a site where they stop at a site, or wherever. And then also, these technicians have unique keys that give access to our infrastructure, also manual lit keys, and various other tools, which the criminal syndicates now becomes more to the organized crime syndicates, where your criminals need those tools to perform crime where they steal from the infrastructure, cut cable or open manholes, or even gain access to mobile sites with their keys and steal batteries. So that is the one scenario, which is our technicians. Our security guys also get exposed to crime. You know, in the years that I've been at Telkom, we've been shot at many times. Wow. At night, where we do operations. And in the olden days, we used to do ambush operations and nighttime surveillance for the cable thieves that would come in. And I myself have faced a few bullets dodging past me. So, and that's totally unexpected. You never are prepared for anything like that. So we have our security guys that we also need to take a look at. We have our security officers at the sites that being held at gunpoint, tied down with cable ties in the guard hut, and then batteries are stolen from the exchanges. So that is the center point of the crime that we like to focus on. We also have scenarios where our employees have to go and testify in court cases. And we find that there's a lot of intimidation. So when we've got a court case, one of our technicians or any employee needs to go in and testify. We support them at court, make sure that they have armed escort, they don't drive to the court with their own vehicle, make sure that they're comfortable in the court and so on, even with identification parades where they have to go and take part in our identification parade. So we go through the whole process to make sure that they are safe and feel comfortable in the environment. And then lastly, which is something that's recently started becoming a big problem, and that is where we refer to the construction mafias. Sure. So that's where we have groups of community members that demand money from contractors that's doing a construction job at site. And they decide that, you know, we're going to hold you ransom. We're preventing you from coming onto the site, or we prevent you from leaving the site. And they get intimidated and said, you don't come back here anymore. So we have those kinds of incidents as well, where that can escalate into violence. You know, when there's a lot of emotions involved in that. So those are the kinds of scenarios that our employees are exposed to and which we render services, whether it's with business protection services, armed reaction, and with physical security, armed escort guards that would escort you through your daily tasks.
VIP protection, body protection.
We do VIP protection, whistleblower protection, and all kinds of protection.
Really a James Bond movie there, like you're getting shot at, you know. But as unfortunately, we are all faced in situations. It's real life situations, regardless of where do you find yourself. You might think that you are in the safest environment, but crime is all over. Would you guys agree on that? You know, over to Peter. Peter, any experiences or scenarios within your environment with the BCX technicians?
Yeah, from the technician side, it's mostly the muggings and the robbery of tools, cell phones, and the personal belongings. Those are the things that we experience. Now, maybe to latch on what he was referring to, on the other challenge that we get is they will catch the perpetrators out there, or cable thieves, and now you need a technician to go and identify our infrastructure, you know. Now, after that is making the statements to the police for the case to go to court. And it's the witness protection side that I see is still lacking, because the employees, when going to court now, facing the criminal in court that you stole our cable, that's where the employees are intimidated. And I see from operations point of view, is where the employees are now scared to. Yes, to go to court now to face the perpetrators for the trial to proceed. So looking at the other challenges from our side, of course, is the theft that we are experiencing. You have got technicians, you have got the security there who are also at risk, and they are affected because you get tied up, the things get stolen. Yeah, and after that, when the person is still at shock, and you are the first suspect. Yeah, you know, you become the victim and the suspect at the same time, and that puts pressure on the people when you look at it.
Yes.
Now, looking at the hijackings as well, you know, it happens anywhere. If you look at the Johannesburg downtown, or you go to Soweto, you know, Zonamdeni, they no go. You know, you go to Alex, and then you go to Situational. You know, in those areas, the chances of coming
there's just certain areas that you
yeah,
know, and
certain
you can.
areas you can't just venture there alone. So really, it's a question of awareness and taking the safety precautions to the best of our ability at the end of the day. I would say to the employees, don't lose guard of all these factors. Better to say, hey, that area there, I can't go alone, I need the thing.
What I would also think is never try and be a hero in the situations. Rather cooperate, hand the car over, or follow the instructions. I've got a question here from Mo. Co-workers was held up by thieves dressed in police uniform. This is how creative they become. So what do you do in a case such as this, when a police officer is pulling you over and you are uncertain, and you're also in an environment that is highly threatful?
Okay, so this, we've actually even had direction from the police. I think it was also on the TV a while back, where in a situation where you are getting pulled over and you do not recognize that specific vehicle, or you do not feel safe being pulled over by a specific person, even if they wear a uniform, you need to drive to the nearest police station or to the nearest place where there's other people around, whereby you are able to engage with that officer. In that situation, again, we've always told people that if it's on the highway, hazards on, ask the person to follow you to the nearest police station for your own safety. And going back to avoiding such situations, we always say it's important that you do route planning. So the day before you go out on site, you need to know what times you are leaving and the areas you go into. Funny enough, criminals are so intelligent, they even know the police schedule when shifts swap over. So meaning there's less police on the road because now they've gone to the police stations to swap cars and so forth.
Yes.
So those things as a driver, you need to be very vigilant of and aware of that, okay, at this specific time, there's less police on the road. So the chances of me being hijacked are increasing.
So it is a well-organized crime. They don't just get up, wake up in the morning and decide, I'm going to hijack. It's all about they plan, and you need to counter those plans.
Correct.
So change your route, change your time, be more vigilant when you're out on the road. I know ladies like to leave their bags, and they always become victims of smash and grab. Have you guys ever experienced that in your environment? Laptops being grabbed from the seat, Peter?
Yeah, so, you know, it's also a knowledge from the criminals that open safe technicians in their vehicles, there is a laptop. I know I will get a cell phone there. I know there is a wallet, it was a payday, there's money that I can also get there. So those are the issues that you experience out there. And it's real. Sometimes we take it for granted. The criminals know your payday. And all this information. They also know the technicians have got a new cell phone now, they've got this time.
Yes.
Then you see that crime skyrocketing. Yeah, because they've seen one.
Yes.
Yeah, and they talk. Others talk too much. Maybe to our colleagues out there, don't just talk and then in public and then you show off this stuff because others are watching you.
That's why our topic this morning is hijacking and mugging. It's not always about the car. It's about valuables that you carry along with you, your cell phone, your laptop. So also when you're in a vehicle, be vigilant. Where do you put your cell phone? If you just expose it, then you're highly to be mugged, you know, or smash and grab like that. Yes, you've got
Rupert, just to add on that, even a small thing like your 20 Rand sunglasses, you're increasing the chances of someone smashing and grabbing.
Yeah.
Opens have your uniform. It's not just police officers whose uniform gets stolen, but now this person, you've left your jacket on the seat of the vehicle, smash and grab, take that jacket, tomorrow they go to your site wearing that specific uniform, or they enter a specific complex saying, I'm a technician from this specific company and so forth. So we always advocate for out of sight, out of mind. So your cell phone, your jacket, your pen, or anything that when somebody peeps inside your vehicle, they will think that thing is valuable. So you need to keep your car as clean as possible so that a person will say, okay, there's nothing for me in this specific vehicle.
I like that, out of sight, out of mind, so you will avoid crime being escalated or making yourself a target. You've got a question.
Yeah,
Nyati.
actually it's more of a point just to add on what he's just said. I mean, we're a society that likes to display things of value. You know,
Yes.
I've got a new iPhone, I'm going to show it. Sitting in a restaurant, I put it out there. And, you know, whilst technology is good, you know, I always say it's important to be vigilant where you use it. I mean, look at this iPhone, what do you call it, the Apple Pay, where we're now using phones to click.
Tap.
Be careful where you use that, because now you're exposing your phone and also the payment method to people that could be watching you. So you need to always have that situation and awareness. Do I use the card in this instance? I mean, there are things that I had it from one of my cousins, a young person. You know, he said to me, "Listen, I've got a Capitec account and card that I take when I go to school. It's got a limit of something like 500 rands or 400 rands, withdrawal limit.
Yeah.
And I use it when I sit in places where there's lots of people. So don't use, you know, and I'm quite chuffed to hear young people think like that in this day and age.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is having a security mindset.
Mindset, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
don't expose yourself to become a target
Yeah, yeah.
to violent crime. Anything from your side in terms of security, what more would you advise to our viewers and our listeners, James?
Well, I would say obviously be alert about your surroundings. If you're going to travel to a specific area, familiarize yourself with the route you're going to travel, what time of the day you're going to travel. Put it on Google Maps, look what the traffic looks like, see what alternative routes there are. and then decide on which is the safest route, the best, easiest route for you to follow. That also gives you, you know, comfortable and preparation of mind of where you're going.
Yes.
When you park at a specific area, be aware of vehicles that was following you, if they also park in your close vicinity. And the same when you leave, whether you leave court. Always when I walk back to my vehicle after a court hearing or so, I sit for a while in my car before I start moving, and I just observe, because obviously that's a spot where you're going to be expected to be followed.
Yes.
Sit in your car, make sure that your car's obviously locked, and you're aware of anyone that's also starting up a vehicle but not leaving. I would see somebody maybe getting into a car in front of me, but he also sits in a car. So immediately that draws my focus. Okay, so why is he sitting in his car? And then I would start my car and slowly move out. And then if he starts moving, then I know, okay, we can have like a drive.
Yes.
And then you make sure there's various ways of doing counter surveillance. By putting in your indicator, pretending you're going to turn off left, slow down, go through the motions, but it's safe, and then you actually carry on straight.
Right.
But see what that guy is doing. Has he also put his indicator on, or was he going to go straight? If he didn't put his indicator on and you just suddenly turn left, he's supposed to carry on straight. So there's various ways of making sure that,
Testing.
okay, I've got a tail. Then you don't drive straight home.
Yes.
Not at all. If it seems like an aggressive tail, I would say go to a garage, a filling station where there's cameras and people around you, or drive to a police station. Stop at the police station and see what happens. But don't go home when you know you've got to follow. Just shake the tail a bit,
Yes.
and then when it's safe, follow the procedure that Mo explained. When you enter and approach your residence, stop where you still got an escape route to that side. Be sure who's behind you. You know, a lot of the times, if someone would follow you and it's a quiet road, they would follow you far further back.
Yes.
And you would sense that, okay, no, there's nobody on my tail. The reason why they're actually far back is so that you can't see how many people is in a car, number one. Number two is you can't actually make out the detail of the car. So they're just far enough for you to feel safe. But the moment you slack down or stop and indicate that you are going to move in, that vehicle will accelerate forward to close the gap between you guys. So 100% awareness, and just think while you're driving and not be distracted with sending WhatsApps and, you know, what song is playing next on the radio or so on.
And we get so comfortable in those situations.
Yes.
We can easily read a WhatsApp and you start responding and you're answering your phone. So it's all about being aware your surroundings, who's following you, where you're going, also plan your route. I've got an interesting question here for Mo. What does a typical hijacker look like in terms of gender, race, age?
Interesting.
It's a very interesting question.
Probably, I don't know why the viewer is asking that question, but probably you had experience where you've done an arrest or you've been involved in a crime scene. So is there any specifics to it?
So there's three types of hijackers. You get a gang, you get a person who works alone, and then you get a hijacker who will do some or anything. So in a gang, it's a group of people where you'll get the lookout, you'll get the driver, you'll get the guy who points the firearm. And then in a case of a professional hijacker, this is the guy who works alone. So he's nicely dressed like you are. He'll stop you and ask for specific direction. So he'll scope you out, and then all of a sudden he shows you that he's got a gun on him and he's looking to. So he'll more or less want to take your car as silently as possible. And then you'll get the guy who today does hijacking, tomorrow is doing housebreaking. So it all depends on what kind of a hijacker you get exposed to. So in a gang, you'll always have the older one, which is a team leader, and then the young ones who are on drugs or specific items are the ones that are following his lead. The professional is middle-aged, like I said, well-dressed, and then the other schoolie is. And funny enough, you will not find hijackers like in the olden days where an all-star and a sporty will say this is a hijacker. You actually get people who are properly well-dressed, who are hijacking vehicles. Remember a while back there was a time where they were hijacking cars from dealerships. So this person comes in, I'm here for a test drive, and then they go out with the salesperson, and then the salesperson gets hijacked.
Yeah, well dressed like myself. Thanks for that compliment, Mom. There's a follow-up question. How should I respond to these hijackers not to get shot? You know.
Very good question. Your response could be either death or surviving, unfortunately. It's one of those situations I do not wish anyone to be in. It's a situation where you need to be well aware of and in your most calmest mind. So the first part is the most difficult part, being calm.
Yes.
The more calm you are, the more likely you're going to survive that situation. Number two, you do not look the hijacker in the eyes. Because let's be honest, we all, I'm speaking from a different cultural background. In the black community, if you look someone in the eyes, you disrespecting them, you challenging them. Whereas I think in the white environment, if you look someone in the eyes, it shows that you're being honest and you are sincere. So those are the two different things that you need to look at in a situation like that. So do not look a person in the eye. Number three, remember a hijacker, when they want to take their vehicle, at that point in time, they are higher because he's pointing a firearm in the vehicle. So he's standing up, he's higher, you sitting down. If you are a big Mac like I am and you get out of this specific vehicle, then you end up being higher than him.
Yes.
So if you all remember the David and Goliath story, so now this guy feels a bit intimidated that this big person now just stepped out of the vehicle. So try and stay as small as possible because it means you are being submissive. And you being submissive makes it easier for him to take the vehicle. So the person who's driving the vehicle is the one who's in charge of this scenario.
Yes.
So if your wife is driving and you sitting passenger, you're the one who's keeping quiet. Because your wife did the right in the first moment by showing the hands up, they've built rapport with the hijacker.
Wow.
So the hijacker is more likely to put focus on the person who's in charge, which is the driver. As you escape the vehicle, you do not get out of the vehicle with your back either turned, because if something goes wrong, they can shoot you in the spinal cord. Now you're getting paralyzed. You do not face the hijacker with the front of your body, because now you're exposing all your vital organs. Remember when we were kids and we were playing hide and seek, how do you hide? You hide sideways, right?
Small on yourself.
Exactly.
Yes.
So in this situation, as you get out of the vehicle, your hands are up and you're turning sideways. So now you've got this hand protecting this specific vital organ. You've got the palm of your hand protecting your face should anything go wrong. In that situation, again, what is the hijacker doing? The hijacker is thinking that this person is scared of me. Do I need to shoot this person? There's no need for me to shoot this person because this person is being submissive. And then, most importantly, you never vacate the driver's side of your vehicle with your kids still in the vehicle. This is whereby you use one door to get out of that specific vehicle. Because if the kids open the rear door, what's going to happen? Now the movement of the gun changes from pointing at you, who's in charge of the situation, to pointing at the kid who's escaping from the rear door. Anything goes wrong, pulls the trigger, he's shooting at the kid. So you want the gun at all times to be pointing at you. Again, going back to trauma. Rather the gun be faced at you, you take the trauma as opposed to your kid having the gun faced at them.
Wow.
So now this vehicle becomes a one-door escape route. So now you become in the barrier as the kids get out of the vehicle and you move slowly towards the back of the vehicle so that when they escape forward.
Forward. There is such insightful information. I can listen to Mo the whole morning. But unfortunately, we're getting to a time that we need to close. I'm going to go over to Nati. 30 seconds. What is your advice to your employees when you're in a situation like that? 30 seconds.
I think for me, it's basically summarizing what I've heard. It's really around the response in a situation like that. I think the key word that I picked up is calmness. not looking in the eye, and be as cooperative as possible. Don't fight.
Don't fight.
I think your life is more important than the asset itself.
Thank you, Nati.
Sure.
Over to you, James, 30 seconds.
Well, I would say that for the technicians that are planning to go to an area to go and work, in advance, make sure that you know where you're going to work, you know where the risks are. In advance, request armed escort rather than attempting to go into a difficult area yourself. Follow the procedure, fill in the form, have it signed, and you have yourself armed escort going to an area. So it's all about the pre-planning part as well.
Pre-planning, thank you. Peter, 30 seconds, what is your closing for your
Yeah,
employees?
I would say employees out there, be observant, pay attention to details, know the area where you are operating, and make sure that you take safety precautions at all times.
Vigilance. Mo, how do we get hold of MasterDrive? Where are you guys advertising? If somebody outside of the organization want to join MasterDrive, how do we go about?
All right, so we've got 4 branches. We've got one in KZN, Cape Town, PE, and up here in Joburg. You go to www.masterdrive.co.za. That's where you'll find all the courses and everything that we do. Alternatively, we are everywhere. This week we're working at the Festival of Motoring. So if you've got anyone going there, they can just come to our stand, have a chat with our guys over there. Okay. And then one last thing with regards to advice. It's Friday. Most hijackings take place on Friday. So what happens is on your way home, because it's Friday, chances are you're going to grab a bite outside. So you're going to be coming home a bit later on. So always say, within the 5-kilometer radius of your house, switch off your radio, put your cell phone away. If you've got kids in the vehicle, this is the time for you to say, guys, let's look out the window, which car is following us from here? Right. So now you are more aware of your surroundings as you approach home, because most of hijackings take place at our homes. Hence, you need, going back to what was said, that you need to be vigilant as you're driving home.
So it's www.masterdrive.co.za. Go and visit their website, see how you can join, and make sure you become more vigilant on the road. Sarah, 30 minutes of closing, 30 seconds of closing. Female normally talks a lot, so I need to say 30 seconds.
So from my side, Rupert, I think what is important is that any person, whether it's employee, family member, who find themselves exposed to any traumatic situation, even though they are okay today and tomorrow, you still need to seek help, because within the 4 weeks window period, you might start to present with acute stress disorder. Yeah. And if untreated, it will then extend to post-traumatic stress disorder. So it's easier to manage trauma at an early stage, at the onset of it, so that it doesn't aggravate into a condition or a mental health illness that is going to require you to undergo 12 to 24 months of treatment. So seek help even though you are okay as an employee after being exposed to a traumatic situation.
So seek help as soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
That is such insightful information. Once again, thank you for Telkom Group Forensics for arranging this session and making it available to all our employees, and also creating the awareness for people out there. When you're on the road, please stay vigilant, be aware, and take good care of yourself. Thanks again, Telkom Group Forensics, and thank you to our panel members for all the insightful information. It was great having you guys on the show. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.